So we talk about oxytocin, which we get from bonding, but there's that within the limbic system, and especially the basal ganglia, is the dopamine area that, when dopamine is so important in feeling good. It is like an opioid, if you will. And in fact, many people take opioids because they're not getting the dopamine, or they take these opioids to release dopamine in their brain. So we have these dopamine releasers. What a waste, because we don't get, apropos to what you're saying, kids don't get that internal experience of creativity like I did growing up. We didn't have money to buy stereos and all that, so you took a radio and you get a couple of cheap speakers. Now you got your stereo. That's creativity.
It's going into the woods is creativity, right?
Yeah,
Playing in the garden is creativity.
Absolutely.
Playing with your toys, building stuff with your toys is creativity.
Right.
This world of imagination is where innovation comes from.
Absolutely.
And having an imagining of love and life with somebody else is part of what has to get set in childhood.
Right.
If you are used to these tiny little short fractalized bites of information or feelings, then one grows up to expect that from other people. So when we talk about neural development, we're actually looking at a change in this generation particularly of how young people are relating to each other.
Right.
So this kind of texting has a lot to do with the inability to actually show up and creatively engage with another person. So you're hidden, you risk nothing, just like that child who will pretend that they don't have emotion in order to not risk rejection from a rejecting or an angry mother. We see young adults fearful of rejection, hiding behind a screen, afraid to show up and be seen or see. There's no creativity of interpersonal interaction. This is how actually people learn and grow.
Because it's all surface. Everything is on the surface.
Everybody's jet skiing.
And all that creativity and all that stimulus input is manufactured stuff. And actually, we're manipulating how children experience the universe.
Yeah, so that to me is a sin. And so I want to talk about this word sin, if I may just digress for a moment.
Absolutely.
So I use this word sin, S-I-N, often in my work with people. And I want to explain what that means to me and why I use it. In ancient archery, to shoot true and hit the target, this is you're shooting true. But if you shoot a sin, you miss the target. And that's the context in which I use this word.
I got it.
So I feel like this is a sin because we are missing the target, which is to enhance the child's sense of itself, sense of its value, encourage its creative problem solving. So here's what we end up with. We end up with adults who have so much more frustration and so much less ability to problem solve. They have less ability to successfully and authentically or truly bond with another person.
And when a parent is frustrated, it's like a magnet. Who gets that frustration? The child. And then how does the child learn to deal with their own frustrations? In other words, their ability to withstand, their threshold becomes so much lower. So everything sends them off. And I think this is a reason why we have so much addiction today and so many other problems. Lack of insight, lack of self-awareness, lack of understanding, lack of self-empathy, especially lack of self-compassion, which in my book is empathy and attunement. And kids don't have that. It's almost like they look inside, they see blank.
So that actually, if we can go back to this notion of dopamine production.
Go ahead.
So if we're talking about full or empty, the effective production of dopamine is the feeling of feeling full.
Correct.
And I'm full with myself. Without enough dopamine or serotonin, I feel empty, particularly with dopamine. And so you and I both do a lot of work in the field of addiction and recovery.
That's correct.
And what do we know that is true? What do all of clients share? They feel bad about themselves. They feel like there's something wrong with themselves.
Right.
They feel empty inside. And they are seeking this fullness.
Right. The key feature that I hear over and over is, I'm not good enough.
Always. Well, that's the
I am
core
not
wound.
good enough, that I am not perfect, because we're all perfectly imperfect, and I think that is something that we have to understand. And I think when you don't feel good about yourself, that sense of not being perfect becomes paramount.
Well,
Or not being good enough becomes paramount.
well, it's almost like